I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. Thank you guys for a great 2011. It is time to do the VIMTV 2011 top album list. So that is what you're watching right now. And if you've discovered VIMTV in the past year, welcome aboard. I know that we're pretty active through our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, our website, www.velocitiesinmusic.com. So thank you guys for interacting with us and doing all that stuff. Just wanted to say that before we get started. Now, as we did last year, how we compiled, this is going to be our top 25 albums. How we compiled this list is every year Tom and I just make our list, just like we do. And we, just essentially just take all of our favorite albums and rank them. Now, how many albums did we review this year?
A little over 100, somewhere between like 100, 130, somewhere in that area.
A crazy amount of albums. And so narrowing it down just to the top 25 was kind of difficult. So what we did is we each made about a list of our top 50, and then we assigned them a point value, kind of reverse order of rank. So the number one album on each of our lists was worth 50 points, and then we averaged out the points between us, and then that kind of made our list for us. Using some trickery. And magic powers that Justin Bieber knows nothing about. So to get started, we'll start with our 25th album, which was The Whores, Skying.
If you watched our review of this album, one of the things that was a highlight for me was the production, how every part of the band shined, essentially. No one really overpowered anyone else in the band. But also, I mean, this is just great songwriting. I mean, every track, it flows well. You get lots of differences in moods, but I found it to be a very unique release.
Right. Alright, so for our 24th album, it was Iron and Wine's Kiss Each Other Clean.
Bridge that had tumbled to the ground.
Now, Kiss Each Other Clean was kind of a different album for Sam Beam and the Iron and Wine. Are they a full band now? Who knows? It sounds like it because there's a lot more electric guitars, more kind of grandiose instrumentation used, a lot of variety of instrument, and the productions on Kiss Each Other Clean played a much higher role. So that was a different album that kind of irked a lot of fans, but I think both of us really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was a good turn for him.
So, 23?
So then moving on to 23, Handsome Furs, Sound Kapital.
Kapital!
This album really snuck up on us. I mean, I like the Handsome Furs. I always have. You know, their first couple albums good, but this one, I mean, really, it struck me. Very heavy beats, a lot of attitude in Dan's the name, right?
Yep.
I'm getting that right. Dan's vocals, and good album overall. I mean, yeah.
So up next is Cass McCombs' Wits End, and that's going to be our 22nd.
Yep.
All right. This album was just a total mind trip, and at first it was really hard to get into just because it's so mellow and so dark at times and moody, but after a number of listens, both Tom and I really liked it. Now, I ended up liking this one a lot more than Tom did, but it made both of our lists.
It did, yeah.
Because all of the just very low, moody acoustic work that he did was just so brooding, and it really captured it. It was all about that mood essence.
Also all about the subtleties.
Really,
a lot of little things in that album that you need to work to pick up on, really.
Now, for our 21st favorite album this year, it was Panda Bear's Tomboy. Okay, so Tomboy really irked a lot of Panda Bear fans, and the reason is because 2007's Person Pitch was just this kind of an Animal Collective sound. You know, Panda Bear being one of the two main guys from Animal Collective. You know, he had this bright, happy sound, and while he did all this really cool stuff with how he produced the album, Tomboy was very different in that it was very insular, moody, dark. It was recorded in a basement. All
the sounds were much more separated rather than that washed together sound that you got on Person Pitch.
Right, a completely different listening experience. Now, I happen to really like it, and I think Tom liked it pretty well. It's just a matter of, while we didn't have a predetermined thought of what that was going to be, what the sound of the album was going to be, which I think is what bothered a lot of the fans.
And now, moving on to number 20, The Antlers, Burst Apart. You know, already speaking of a couple albums that really pissed off some of the diehard fans, this is another one, the third in our list, I'd say, that is really like that, in the sense that Hospice, their last release, was so much more folk-influenced and so much just lo-fi, really soft acoustic, concept album about death and love. And then this one, it's just, you know, it's not quite as ambitious in the grand scheme of concepts, but it's much more ambitious in its sound and the production styles. And so it was a risky move. I think it did alienate some people, but I ended up really liking the songwriting, the overall attitude and mood they were going for. And going from there, we're going to another kind of electronic-based album, and that's M83's Hurry Up, We're Dreaming. Hurry Up, We're Dreaming is a double album that by the French artist M83, and really he just kind of is the mastermind of everything, a guy named Anthony Gonzalez. And I mean, the thing that we ended up loving about that album is that it was a perfect combination of these thick, synth-driven electronic textures with still a lot of guitar, real drums, nice clear vocals. I mean, there was all the variety, the whole spectrum of those two sounds that you could ever want across a double album, you know.
That had some light concepts to it.
Yeah, it did.
It really just warmed up to you the more you listened to it.
It was a lot to take in, but we found it to be a very rewarding listen.
And up next number 18 on our list was Feist Metals. Metals showed Feist really embracing, going even further down the rabbit hole in terms of her folk side of her music. And it had a lot of just natural tinges to the production that I really liked. And I know both Tom and I ended up having a number of track picks on that album that just, I know hit my top song list of 2011. But overall, it was just a really high quality album and had a lot of that just subtle intensities that we so much love on VIMTV.
Going into number 17, we've got The Kills with Blood Pressures. On Blood Pressures, I feel like Allison and Jamie, the two members of the band, really finally, like, I mean, I've always liked their stuff, but the two of them mesh so much better. They show a lot more restraint with their sound, but still, because of that, it shows control.
And a ton of intensity.
Oh yeah, just building up throughout the entire album, and so much attitude, which also shines through in the kind of dirty production, and it just fits their sound perfectly. I love that album. Keep coming back to it.
Up next is number 16, the Dodos, No Color. No Color really wasn't that different from other Dodos albums. It was a little bit bigger sound, a little bit more just evenly produced all the way around, but it's just the Dodos doing what the Dodos do, and that's making really, really high quality indie, you know, kind of acoustic rock music. And to tell you the truth, that endearing quality that almost all Dodos I've ever heard has, it was totally retained on this album, and it was something that I really got into.
Going to number 15 is St. Vincent with Strange Mercy.
And they left you. How could I?
You know, coming off of 2009's Actor, which Jake and I both loved, absolutely loved, we had very high expectations for Strange Mercy, and it really met them most of the way. I mean, she's still doing what she does. It's this, you know, it's you know, female pop for sure. I mean, it's pop and it's done by a female, but at the same time, it's got this edge to it that no one else is doing.
Super dark.
And she maintained that perfectly here while having nice dynamic contrast and some bright spots in the songs. And overall, I mean, it's a very gripping and engaging album.
Up next at number 14 was Tim Hecker's Ravedeath, 1972. Ravedeath 1972 was a really hard album to review. I haven't had a ton of experience reviewing ambient music or what's considered new age by many, but some diehards would, I think, just call it this ambient. But a lot of crazy guitar distortion, but really the entire album is just instrumentals, and seeing these pieces come together, we found the importance of the album was all about the track titles, and it really helped just shape this just other world that over time I fell in love with even more after we reviewed it, and it ended up being the second album on my top 2011 albums list, just because of all of its endearing qualities and how it just captures a mood and takes you to another world.
Great theming, too.
Absolutely.
I mean, just perfect in that regard, yeah. And moving on, we've got number 13, Laura Marling, A Creature I Don't Know. A Creature I Don't Know is the third album from Laura Marling. She's a very young folk musician, and this album, it took us a while to get warmed up to, but in the end, we just found that these songs are so well written. Laura Marling's voice is like frickin' candy, and I mean, there's just not much bad to say about it. Very, very consistent and solid, well-written album.
Right. Up next is number 12 on our list, which is Bon Iver's self-titled second release, Bon Iver. How do you follow up For Emma Forever Ago, the album that Bon Iver's first album, which came out in 2008? That's one of the toughest things I think an artist has had to follow up, and I think Bon Iver actually does a pretty darn good job. Now, personally, I still like his first album better than this one, but that doesn't downplay how good Bon Iver actually is. You got to see a lot more, just more enhancements in the songwriting, enhancements in the instrumentation.
Lots of little things in the background of the mix and that really added to it.
Production was really taken up a notch. Everything about this album just sounds more mature. It's just, and it was still endearing, but it wasn't quite as endearing as his first album. Now, overall, we still loved it, gave it very high scores, and thus it has earned its number 12 place on our albums list.
And number 11 is James Blake's self-titled LP, James Blake.
James Blake.
James Blake's album was a great amalgamation of styles because you had that very sultry kind of crooner-esque lounge-style vocals with the very electronic and piano-based kind of like chill dubstep type production. I mean, it's hard to describe, but it was a very good listen.
Very minimalistic sound,
yes.
too. Up next on our list, in the top 10, number 10, Tom Waits' Bad As Me.
The thunder and the roar, and the boat they won't sink.
Bad As Me is Tom Waits' 17th album, and one thing that both Tom and I loved is that the album kind of just captured all of Tom Waits' travels and all the different styles he's experienced over his extensive music career, but at the same time retain that eccentric Tom Waits style that everyone seems to love so much, including us.
In fact, you know what? We haven't even posted that review yet.
So you have to go check that out.
Spoiler alert, it'll be coming at some point, and guess what? We liked it.
We liked it.
And moving on, we have now cracked the top 10. Number 9 is PJ Harvey, Let England Shake. Let England Shake is kind of a concept album from PJ Harvey's point of view about the troubles that she's seen England go through, and it's very powerful for that reason, but also just, I mean, what more do you want from songwriting? I mean, obviously all the albums on our top 25 are going to excel in the songwriting department, but this one in particular, I mean, just the melodies, the instrumentation, everything comes together so well. I know this is on a lot of people's top albums of 2011 lists, and it really deserves to be.
Now, number 8 on our list is the Braids Native Speaker. It's just Braids, though. Native Speaker was Braids' first album, and really was quite impressive to me because it was very much an album listen.
Oh, very
You know,
nice.
it's 7 tracks long. It actually has my top track, Lambikin, track 5, is my favorite track that I heard this year. Just really well done all the way through. Very mood-oriented. The female singer does a great job, and actually we had the privilege of seeing Braids live.
Yeah.
And it was just a very captivating experience.
What was cool too is they were so young, but so much talent within them, and it's cool to see what they'll do in the future because I mean, they played a lot of tracks that were not from this album, and it's their first album. So it's really going to be cool to see where they go from here.
Now, coming up next is number 7, and that's Fleet Fox's Helplessness Blues. Helplessness Blues is Fleet Fox's second album, and this sophomore release was it was so anticipated and so overhyped from the get-go that it was like, how could this band possibly live up to all the buzz around it? Now,
and they did.
They did. Helplessness Blues is incredible. This was my #1 album of the year. I absolutely adored this thing. The more I listen to it, the more I love it. In fact, it's probably one of my top albums of all time. There's just not another album out there that does such a good job of just having such diverse songwriting and emotional, yet at the same time to be very heady in the instrumentation and songwriting, and lyrics that embrace different subjects. This band is operating at all cylinders in their perfectionist ways. Really pay off here in Helplessness Blues.
And moving on to #6 is Lykke with Wounded Rhymes. Wounded Rhymes is this Swedish artist's second album, and it is dark. But what I love is that it's still in a pretty strictly pop format, with a couple of exceptions in the tracks, and yet it still just holds this really dark ambiance through the whole thing. And it's so personal and so honest and authentic, and with great songwriting, great hooks, that Peter, Bjorn, and John style production. I mean, there's a lot to love here.
Now, #5 on our list, we're in the top 5 now. I'm getting a little excited. Is Wye Oak's Civilian. Civilian really took me by surprise. This is an album where you have a female vocalist who also plays guitar and then a drummer as the two main forefronts of the band. And this album really isn't anything overly ambitious. It's just 10 really good tracks with a couple just absolute gems in here, including the title track, Civilian. It's just a lot of really good guitar and just intensity building, and in songwriting, it's just a lot of really good qualities on just a pretty straightforward album. When you have 10 really good songs, you typically have a really good album. That's just the way it goes.
And that's why it's our #5. And now moving on to our #4, we've got the metal monolith Mastodon with The Hunter. The Hunter is an album that takes Mastodon's really conceptual metal sound, puts it more on just the individual songwriting basis, you know, instead of making a huge concept album for once. But it takes the production up a notch, it even takes the energy and just the overall clarity up a notch. And while some people didn't like it for that reason, that's the exact reason I ended up loving that album, because it made everything so clear. It was focused. Everything was right up front about
it was fun too. It was a fun experience.
Yeah, I mean, there are some fun songs on there. Songs like Octopus Has No Friends and Bedazzled Fingernails. I mean, they're not just dark all the time. These are actually guys who are very goofy at heart, and yet they make very heavy metal music. And somehow it ends up working out really well, which is why it was our #4 album.
Now, #3 on our list. I bet you thought this would be #1, but you're wrong. It's Radiohead's The King of Limbs. The King of Limbs was really a surprise album from Radiohead that came out last February, and 3.5 years after their just monumental success of In Rainbows, you see Radiohead taking that same sound that they had in Rainbows and then adding this whole dance spin onto it. The album really had some really cool beats, some really interesting written songs, and just all around just was a really fun listen. Now, it's only 8 tracks, and there was a lot of speculation on future Radiohead releases. So far, none of those have been met. It's just, the album is what it is, and 8 tracks of just Radiohead doing what Radiohead does, was just taking music to the next level.
Another thing that makes The King of Limbs so interesting is that it's kind of messy and eclectic as far as the composition goes, yet it's so sharp and so clean in the production. Everything stands apart on its own, and so it makes for a listen that you don't really get much.
Right.
And that was our #3. Moving on now to our top 2 is Elbow, Build a Rocket Boys at #2. Build a Rocket Boys was definitely my favorite album of the year. I bet you're probably surprised that you know, if not King of Limbs being #1, that this one wasn't #1, because it was actually the only new album all year that Jake and I both gave a 100 to. Now, I know that it's gone down a little bit on your list while other albums have kind of risen up, but still, it's our #2.
Yeah,
what more do you want? It's a fantastic album.
There's just so much to love about this album, how well Guy Garvey did in producing these songs, and really really ordering the tracks and making an album listen out of it. It's kind of a breathtaking experience when you listen to it.
Yeah,
it is
very
definitely
moving.
it's definitely a straight through listen, and that's what I love about what he did. Now, our #1 album. Are you ready? This one kind of grew on us over time, so it's kind of fun to introduce.
Might be a surprise.
Right. Thursday, no Devolution.
I think when we reviewed this album originally, we gave it in like the mid to upper 80s.
We both thought it was really good.
Yeah, I would totally just unabashedly give it a 100 right now if I reviewed it.
It's just one of those listens that both Tom and I just could not stop listening to after we reviewed it.
We kept saying it, like the week after we reviewed it. Dude, you know what I can't stop listening to? Thursday.
Yeah.
2 weeks after. 3, 4.
Last week I said that too.
I have been addicted to this album since we reviewed it even. And so the few tracks that I thought were maybe a little weaker have really risen to my standards.
Right.
And now I listen to that album and every single song is a powerhouse. I mean, I could understand some people maybe not liking it. I still think that there's a barrier in the vocal performance, it being in that post-hardcore, occasionally tripping into the kind of emo territory.
Right.
But really when it comes down to just rock songwriting and production, this is just a masterpiece. And I know that obviously, you know, it takes a number of years for albums to be regarded as like a classic, you know, but right away when you listen to this and you just think about the songwriting, you think about the performance in it, I mean, what more do you want? Right. I just think this is going to end up being a classic.
Right. And a lot of critics absolutely love it. And I think we're meeting them there now over time, now that we've had time to let this album mature with us. I mean, it's been really a cool experience watching just our love for it grow over time. And that's what makes this list so cool when we make it, is because this is really just a favorites list. We're not saying that these albums are the best ever, but it's the albums that, you know, have a lot of really good qualities that we found really attached to what VIMTV is looking for, and it became VIMTV's favorites from 2011. So thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate all your guys' support and participation. We want this to be a mutual experience where you guys get a lot out of watching our music reviews and get new music out of it too. So we enjoy having you watch our reviews and encourage you guys to continue to participate with us, you know, on our Facebook channel, our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and also following us on Twitter. That's about it. So thanks for watching, everybody. This is our 2011 Top 25 Albums. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.